they just released the entire list of everybody that's partied with P. Diddy and did God knows what. It is extremely long, and some of these names surprise me, and it's heartbreaking. Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds? They got Deadpool?
Ryan Reynolds just landed himself in a complete meltdown after his secret connection to Diddy's freak show finally got exposed. He wasn't just a clueless bystander, he was right there in the middle of it, tied to one of Diddy's shady companies and now circling the drain with subpoena letters. And honestly, if you're getting dragged into that mess, you're not innocent, you're just next. The scandal broke on May 22, 2025, when a disgruntled former business manager filed a whistleblower complaint to the U.S. Office of the Inspector General, accusing actor Ryan Reynolds and music mogul Sean Diddy Combs of co-founding a fraudulent nonprofit known as the Wellness Initiative Fund. At first glance, the fund appeared to promote elite mental health retreats for celebrities and executives, positioning itself as a philanthropic vehicle to combat burnout in the entertainment industry. However, newly leaked internal documents, obtained exclusively by investigative journalist Lana Corsetti, revealed that the fund's real purpose was far more sinister. It served as a shadow account for off-the-books payments, hush money transfers, and non-disclosure settlements tied to various Hollywood figures. In short, it wasn't a charity, it was a cover. If wellness was the goal, why were most of the recipients lawyers and silence buyers, not therapists and healers? The leaked documents span over 3 years, with financial data showing over $3.2 million in unexplained withdrawals categorized as executive health bonuses and confidential stress reimbursements. These line items, flagged by an anonymous IRS analyst, appear repeatedly across multiple quarters, with each payment linking back to accounts in Luxembourg and the Cayman Islands. One document outlines a $175,000 wire marked emergency wellness support to an unnamed recipient who has since been identified through cross-referenced metadata as a former assistant on a major film set involving Reynolds. The IRS, after months of quiet inquiry, escalated the investigation into what officials now describe as a potential racketeering and tax evasion operation disguised as charity. How did a Hollywood wellness brand turn into a money-moving machine with global tentacles? Perhaps most damning was the discovery of Blake Lively's name listed on the nonprofit's 990 filings as co-executive advisor. Though she has not publicly commented, her association with the fund is now under federal review. According to leaked tax correspondence, she attended at least 3 board meetings between 2021 and 2023 and signed off on quarterly wellness reports submitted to the IRS, reports that have since been deemed intentionally misleading by forensic accountants. Insiders claim Lively expressed discomfort with the operation in 2022, but was allegedly urged by Reynolds to trust the process and let the lawyers handle the rest. Whether her involvement was passive or complicit is now at the center of mounting civil and criminal inquiries. Was Blake Lively a silent witness or a knowing partner in a calculated cover-up? While the fund's marketing promised peace, clarity, and self-restoration, the so-called retreats were something else entirely. Hosted in remote villas in Montenegro and St. Lucia, these events were attended by a select group of high-profile clients under strict NDA agreements. A former attendee who broke their silence anonymously described the environment as an elite crisis management bunker, less yoga, more damage control. Attendees were required to surrender their phones, agree to silent clauses, and in some cases reportedly participated in strategy sessions about suppressing scandals before they hit the press. Photos from one retreat, leaked to investigators, show Reynolds and Diddy seated at a long table with legal consultants. No therapists were pictured. What kind of wellness retreat requires armed security and legal strategists instead of counselors and care workers? The smoking gun, however, came in the form of a confidential audit report buried in an internal IRS filing marked restricted, a document never meant to go public. In this report, A redacted investigator notes that the Wellness Initiative Fund may constitute a shell organization created with the express purpose of laundering non-disclosure settlement payments through nonprofit structures. A separate footnote reveals a May 2023 meeting involving Reynolds, Combs, and an unnamed attorney where they allegedly discussed dissolving the fund quietly before regulators caught wind. That meeting never resulted in action, and now federal prosecutors have begun issuing subpoenas to all three parties named. Why didn't they shut it down when they had the chance? And who stopped them from doing it? Sources inside the Justice Department say that Reynolds is being considered a person of interest in connection to the fund's establishment, ongoing operation, and financial irregularities. While no formal charges have been announced yet, two senior officials confirm he has retained criminal defense counsel and has already declined a voluntary interview. Meanwhile, Diddy's legal team has begun distancing him from Reynolds, with one insider stating bluntly, "Sean provided initial funding. What Ryan did after that wasn't our concern." The cracks in their alliance are already showing. Is this the beginning of a legal civil war between two celebrity powerhouses once united by secrecy? Behind the headlines and legal filings lies a far more unsettling question. How many more of these charities exist quietly in Hollywood's shadows? The Wellness Initiative Fund is just the first to collapse under the weight of scrutiny, but its structure is hardly unique. Whispers of similar organizations have begun surfacing, with at least two more nonprofits now under parallel review. This might not be an isolated case, it might be the first domino. On April 29, 2025, the Department of Justice formally escalated its investigation into Sean "Diddy" Combs, expanding the scope of its federal probe to include alleged financial racketeering, shell company fraud, and misuse of charitable entities. Within hours of that announcement, actor Ryan Reynolds was officially named in court filings as a close financial collaborator in Diddy's suspect operations. A heavily redacted 134-page report from the Southern District of New York listed Reynolds' name in connection with three corporate entities that funneled nearly $2.8 million through the now discredited Wellness Initiative Fund. Prosecutors have since confirmed that Reynolds is under review for potential complicity in what they are calling an interlocking web of financial deception. If Diddy's empire is collapsing, why was Ryan Reynolds holding the same shovel that dug the hole? Court insiders confirmed on May 2, 2025, that Reynolds received a formal subpoena to testify in the federal inquiry. The document, issued by Special Prosecutor Carla Jensen, demands Reynolds appear for deposition no later than June 10th. Notably, the subpoena was served just 2 hours after Reynolds participated in a virtual investor briefing for Mint Mobile, a call that concluded minutes before the company's stock dropped a dramatic 17.2% by close of trading. The SEC has since opened a concurrent inquiry into whether Reynolds misled stakeholders by failing to disclose the pending legal threat during that call. A separate financial analyst from BlackRock, one of Mint's minority stakeholders, was quoted in Business Insider on May 3rd as saying, "That dip wasn't random. Somebody knew the subpoena was coming." Was Reynolds trying to prop up his brand while the foundation underneath was already crumbling? Additional evidence came in the form of aviation records obtained through a subpoena issued to Aerostar Private Charter, the flight company frequently used by Combs' inner circle. On May 6, 2025, The Atlantic published verified flight logs showing Reynolds accompanied Diddy on 6 private jet trips between January 2022 and August 2023. All were labeled as strategic business consultations for nonprofit initiatives, but a cross-reference against the Federal Charity Commission's calendar of registered charitable summits reveals none of these events ever occurred. One particularly jarring example was a trip logged on March 14, 2023, to a retreat in St. Lucia, officially listed as a youth mentorship summit. Not only is there no such summit on record, but the resort in question was closed for renovations that entire week. What kind of summit requires a luxury villa, 0 attendees, and leaves no trace behind? On May 9th, 2025, a senior official in the U.S. Attorney's Office anonymously confirmed to Reuters that Reynolds is being investigated for potential conspiracy to defraud federal authorities under 18 U.S. Code Section 371. The charge, if formally pursued, could carry a sentence of up to 5 years in federal prison. Internal memos reviewed by legal correspondent Terrence Valerio reveal that prosecutors believe Reynolds may have knowingly used Blake Lively's image and signature to sanitize fraudulent charitable paperwork, helping provide legitimacy to funds that were later redirected to undisclosed recipients. The memo, dated April 24th, contains a line that reads, "Reynolds operated with reckless disregard for truth and transparency while misusing personal relationships for strategic concealment." Was Reynolds a pawn in Diddy's game, or the chess master quietly arranging the board? In a stunning legal move on May 14th, 2025, actress Blake Lively filed a sealed civil lawsuit in Los Angeles Superior Court against her husband, Ryan Reynolds. The suit, registered under the alias BL versus RR, alleges Reynolds knowingly and deceptively involved the plaintiff in an unlawful charitable scheme under the false promise of philanthropic partnership. Court sources familiar with the filing confirmed that Lively is seeking compensatory damages exceeding $12 million, citing reputational harm, emotional trauma, and loss of contractual endorsements directly tied to the unraveling scandal. Though under seal, the case number 2025-C5-4481, appears in the court docket under restricted classification due to celebrity security and financial risk. Why would Blake Lively sue her own husband unless the truth was darker than the headlines could imagine? At the heart of Lively's complaint is the claim that Reynolds deliberately used her public image and brand credibility to bolster the Wellness Initiative Fund, all while withholding the true nature of its operations. According to sworn statements provided by her attorneys at the firm Denning & Klein LPL, Reynolds allegedly failed to disclose the fund's offshore accounts, its ties to Diddy's business shell network, and its primary function as a front for financial hush agreements. One internal email dated June 1st, 2023, entered as part of the pretrial discovery process, shows Lively writing, "You promised this was clean. I'm not going to be used to launder your karma." Legal experts say the language could imply advanced knowledge of wrongdoing by Reynolds. Did Ryan lie to his own wife just to make the whole operation look legitimate on paper? The legal team also revealed that Lively initially remained silent due to a non-disclosure agreement signed in October 2022, an NDA she claims she was pressured into signing during a wellness retreat in Cyprus. The document, now part of court evidence, includes a clause forbidding public statements about the fund's internal operations, enforceable with a $5 million penalty for breach. Her attorneys argue the NDA itself may be unenforceable if obtained under false pretenses, namely, that Reynolds misrepresented the retreat as a therapeutic couples session, while in fact using the time to secure her written compliance. Legal analyst Dr. Fiona Marshall noted on CBS Morning Legal Brief that this NDA may be the keystone of the entire unraveling narrative. What kind of husband tricks his wife into silence under the guise of therapy and trust? The lawsuit further states that Blake Lively has suffered acute reputational damage since her name was linked to the fund in IRS disclosures published on May 1st. Several brand partnerships, including a six-figure contract with French luxury house Guerlain, have been quietly suspended. Her legal team has provided documentation showing a 32% decrease in brand engagement metrics across her personal endorsements since the controversy began trending online. According to Lively's psychiatric evaluation, submitted as evidence on May 16th, she has experienced panic attacks, social anxiety, and intermittent depressive episodes triggered by public scrutiny. In the filing, her lawyer states, Ms. Lively never consented to being part of a fraudulent network. She was coerced, deceived, and ultimately betrayed. The controversy began quietly on October 22, 2023, with what seemed like a minor HR incident buried inside a major studio's closed-door conflict mediation file. But what transpired would soon escalate into one of the most tone-deaf public apologies in recent celebrity memory. According to verified records from Paramount's internal ethics review, Ryan Reynolds had been formally reprimanded for an incident involving repeated instances of verbally inappropriate humor toward a junior production assistant during the post-production phase of Free Agent. The assistant, a 26-year-old employee identified in legal filings as ES, filed a complaint alleging that Reynolds had mocked her religious beliefs and sobriety in front of colleagues on at least 3 separate occasions. What do you do when the public figure everyone loves becomes the private voice you can't forget? In a gesture meant to make amends, Reynolds allegedly sent the assistant a handwritten apology note accompanied by a bottle of 2004 Dom Perignon Rosé Gold Methuselah, valued at over $7,000. The gift was delivered through a third-party courier to her home address in Pasadena on November 2nd. 2023 likely assumed would be a high-class peace offering quickly ignited outrage. The assistant, a devout Catholic and recovering alcoholic with 7 years of sobriety, published photos of the gift and letter on her private Instagram story, captioned, "This is how Hollywood says sorry. Booze for the girl who doesn't drink." Within hours, screenshots spread across Twitter and Reddit under the hashtag #ChampagneGate. What kind of apology comes wrapped in the very trauma you caused? The backlash was swift. Advocacy groups, including Sober Nation and the Catholic Women's Alliance, released joint statements condemning Reynolds' apology as elitist, culturally insensitive, and morally negligent. On November 5th, 2023, Variety published an editorial titled, "The Myth of Ryan Reynolds: When Charm Isn't Enough," which called the apology a textbook example of PR malpractice. Rather than address the backlash with sincerity, Reynolds took to X, formerly Twitter, with a quip. "Next time, I'll send flowers, or a Netflix password, or maybe just disappear." Intended as humor, the tweet backfired spectacularly, sparking even more criticism for its flippancy. By the following weekend, over 60,000 posts had circulated criticizing Reynolds' response, with one viral comment reading, "It's not funny when the punchline is someone's sobriety. When your brand is built on wit, what happens when the world stops laughing?" Blake Lively, who had remained publicly silent during earlier waves of controversy, reportedly broke her internal neutrality after the champagne incident. According to a Page 6 report on November 7, 2023, Blake told close friends during a dinner in Tribeca, he can't read a room to save his career. That same week, a source inside her PR team confirmed to Us Weekly that Blake had canceled 3 joint public appearances with Reynolds, citing personal time and space. Though the couple did appear briefly at a Tiffany event later that month, photographers noted their lack of interaction. TMZ later released footage showing Blake leaving the venue solo just 17 minutes after arriving. What happens to the perfect Hollywood couple when one of them stops playing along? The assistant involved in the incident has since retained counsel and is reportedly exploring civil action based on workplace hostility and retaliatory harm. While no formal lawsuit has been filed as of May 2025, leaked legal memos suggest negotiations are ongoing for a private settlement. Meanwhile, Reynolds' legal team has refused to issue further statements, calling the matter concluded. However, the silence hasn't helped. According to an April 2024 YouGov poll, Reynolds' favorability rating among U.S. women aged 25 to 45 has dropped by 31% since the scandal first surfaced. Social media sentiment tracking conducted by Pulse Metrics shows that mentions of Reynolds now trend negative at a ratio of 3-to-1 across all major platforms. On February 9, 2024, Ryan Reynolds was spotted outside the Marlowe Renewal Clinic in Malibu, a private mental wellness center frequented by high-profile clients under media duress. Dressed in plain sweats, sunglasses, and a backwards baseball cap, Reynolds appeared disheveled and visibly distressed. Paparazzi footage, later confirmed by The Hollywood Reporter, captured him pacing the parking lot, repeatedly chain-smoking and yelling into a cell phone. The footage, published online by Daily Mail, shows him shouting, "I told you I can't fix this. No one can fix this." A clip that quickly went viral, racking up over 12 million views in 48 hours. What happens when the mask cracks and the man beneath has no script left to follow? By February 15th, multiple sources confirmed that filming for Deadpool 3.5, The Multiverse Massacre, had been quietly postponed. Initially slated to begin principal photography in early March 2024, the project was placed on indefinite hold by Disney Marvel Studios. A leaked internal email from production executive Trina Velasquez, dated February 12th, cited ongoing legal complications and unresolved media entanglements surrounding Mr. Reynolds as contributing factors. Several senior crew members were reportedly reassigned, and contracts for supporting actors were frozen pending updates. Disney has yet to issue an official statement, but industry insiders described the delay as indefinite and reputationally driven. How long can a franchise wait for its star to stop unraveling? Close confidants say Reynolds has withdrawn from nearly all professional and social circles since early 2024. In March, director Sean Levy confirmed in a Vulture interview that Reynolds had declined multiple calls and needed space to process everything. Even his long-standing agent, Brian Ellison at CAA, reportedly took a temporary leave of absence after Reynolds refused crisis management coaching offered by the agency. PR firm Henderson and Crane, which previously managed Reynolds' brand image, quietly ended their relationship in April. A source familiar with the matter stated, "It was impossible to help someone who didn't want to be helped." What do you do when even your inner circle starts walking away? The final blow came in April 2024, when Vanity Fair abruptly canceled a planned cover story titled Reynolds: Redemption in the Spotlight. The feature, which included a 12-page photo spread and in-depth interview conducted in January, was pulled from the magazine's May issue just days before it went to print. Editor-in-chief Radhika Jones reportedly made the decision after new legal developments surfaced in Blake Lively's civil lawsuit. A confidential source at Vanity Fair disclosed that one quote from Reynolds in the interview, "Sometimes good guys have to get their hands dirty," was deemed damning in light of recent court filings. The entire feature was shelved and all promotional material scrubbed. So what do you think? Is Ryan just another Hollywood puppet caught in Diddy's downfall, or is he the mastermind behind it all?